what department you're representing, that I can make a note of it. All right. Now, if for all of you, since you guys are all planning to go live with Nearest, there are a few things that need to get taken care of ahead of time. And one of which is, and I'm sure you're all aware, but number one, you got to get a Nearest account set up for you. And this is not with First Due, but this is with like the national Nearest team, right? Once you get your account set up, you need to log in and you'll need to designate First Due as your vendor. And you do that by entering a client ID number, our client ID number. And that is something that I will provide to you. If you've been in communication at all with Chief Packwood from Turlock, I'm sure you're probably familiar with what needs to get done. But that is one thing. For those of you who are already using First Due for NFIRS, we're going to have to time your transition very carefully. Once we flip that switch and we switch your site to Nearest, you cannot go back to NFIRS. So what that means is you need to have all of your, right when we flip the switch, you need to have all of your NFIRS incidents completed. And before you need to have all your NFIRS incidents completed. And then we'll switch your site to Nearest. And from that moment on, any of the runs that are still open in your incident list, they're going to be on the Nearest format, if that makes sense. All right. And if you guys have any questions about that, you can, reach out to me or reach out to Josh, your implementation manager, and we can kind of go through that process with you.
Do you know when that date is yet, or are we going to determine that throughout this process?
Do I know when excuse me?
When the transition date is?
So that's going to be up to you guys. I mean, it'll be up to you guys. Let me know. I guess that's part of my questions when I start out here. Hold on, let me open up my notes here. So this is Monday.com. Usually I start out by introducing our project management platform. This is Monday.com. We're working out of the fire incident reporting section here. And today is going to be this attend group configuration webinar. So when you scroll all the way over, you'll notice that, you've got all of your departments here. And for those of you who are attending, I will go ahead and mark you guys as complete on this line item. But at the end here, there's meeting notes. And so you will be able to click on this and see my notes. There should also be a column for the recording of today's session, which will be here, and I will include that. Now, I've already had a session with Stanislaus Consolidated. If you want to, you're always welcome to watch their recording as well. So I'm going to come here and I do have some questions for you. All right. So when are you looking to go live with First Due and fire incident reporting in First Due for those of you who have not, who are not already using NFIRS?
We are looking for everybody to go live at the flip over of our CAD solution, which will be the 23rd of September.
And that's when your CAD, your CAD vendor changes. Is that what I heard?
That is correct. We are going to Central Square Enterprise, and so the interface is set up on our new CAD to go to your system.
Okay, so I am assuming then that your go live is going to be contingent on your CAD being up and running. Am I correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, so if CAD, for some reason, if there are issues and CAD's not importing, you're going to delay your go live until it looks good, correct?
Yes, we had some side discussion with Nicholas, and I mean, we agree that we need to be flipped over prior to the end of life for the existing system. over to Nearest before January of next year. But yeah, as long as our CAD goes live September 23rd, that would be when we would plan on going live.
Okay, awesome. As far as how you guys are staffed, is everyone like paid career firefighter department, or do we have a mix? Some volunteers, some combination?
It's mix and combination, yes.
Okay. All right. And you guys are using, you said Zoll?
Correct. We're in the Zoll hosted Fire RMS.
Okay. West.
So very similar to what Patterson and West End transitioned from when we
Okay.
did ours.
And are any departments going to be using NFirst Plus? I know that, some of the departments have the full EPCR and they're using the full EPCR. Have any of you signed up for the EMS module that lives inside of your fire reports?
You're talking about in the existing Zoll Fire RMS?
No, I'm talking about in our platform. So
in your platform, the
yes.
only agencies that are doing EPCR is going to be Modesto, Consolidated, and Turlock.
Yes, but we also have something called NFirst, or not NFirst, but I guess Fire EMS Plus, where within the fire report, you have the ability to document EMS care or not EPCR, but yeah, EMS care, patient care information. It's not NEMSIS compliant. This is not reporting, to the EMS, to your LEMSA or to the state EMS agency. This is just a way to document any kind of, patient care that you're doing and it's usually for non-transporting BLS providers. So that this is an additional kind of thing that you purchase that lives within the fire incident reporting module. So I guess I'm just asking if anybody here has purchased that.
I do not believe so. I'll
Okay.
double check, but I don't believe so.
Okay, cool. And then some other questions. I noticed that some departments had scheduling and some don't. So does everyone have scheduling with us or a scheduling integration set up?
Patterson and West End have scheduling. We have inspection,
Okay,
assets, training, responder, pre-incident planning, hydrant.
okay.
I don't know what the county or Chad would be able to answer what they purchased for the county.
Yeah, for the county, have you purchased scheduling for everyone else or no?
That was for everybody in the county, I believe, yes.
Okay, perfect. Just because that affects, that interacts with the fire incident reporting. So I just want to make sure that we have a good understanding on that.
Yeah,
Okay,
but we've
perfect.
already had a scheduled conference call.
Awesome. All right. So as you come through here, there is a fire incident documentation configuration checklist. So when you click on this and you expand it, you'll see here that there are a number of things that need to get done. And so this is just a good reference for each of you. My ask of you is as you complete everything that needs to get done, and some of this stuff is not relevant, I will be altering this after our session today. But as you get this done, if you can come here on this line item, and if your department has completed your setup and done all the things you need to do here, then go ahead and change this to, complete. For everyone that is here today, I will start out by marking you as working on it. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. And can I get whose site should I work on today? Any volunteers?
Looks like Houston's on, so Houston and Keys. So
Okay.
or Chad's, whatever. I don't know. Is OES using it too for your staffing and all that, Chad?
We're eventually going to for the fire prevention people, but I think probably for a global explanation, Keys or Houston would probably be the best bets.
Okay. So we've got Houston here. I've got their site pulled up. For the rest of you, if you have access to your First Due site, it would be great if you could follow along. Hopefully you guys all have, 2 monitors, but if you don't, you can certainly do a split screen. All right, so I'm here at the Houston site. I like to start out by going over roles and permissions. So I'm under admin here, roles and permissions. So obviously, you've got a bunch of canned roles that were given to you. You can't edit most of them, but you can always, find one that is close to what you want and copy it, and then you can edit your copy. Now, I'm going to go into the fire department role because that's the one that you can edit. And we're going to set this up as if it were for your basic firefighter, your basic end user. All right, so you come in here and we'll go to permissions. Okay. And what we need to do is we need to go to your incident reporting. So incident reporting is all for, fire incident reporting. Now for Houston, are you planning on having someone, when people complete their fire reports, are you planning on having someone of higher authority come along, review those reports and kind of authorize them or mark them as, completed?
Are you talking about somebody on the department actually inputting the data within First Due?
Yeah, so when somebody inputs the data into First Due and they complete their fire report, are you planning on having a chief or someone else come in afterwards, take a look at their documentation and give that final stamp of approval for it to go to nearest?
As of today, we'll probably do it just as we're doing it now, which all of our calls are done on a paper report, and then they're filed into a box. And actually myself is the one that's entering the data within currently Zoll, which would be just me doing it into the First Due.
Okay, so it's
our line people at this point do not have access to Zoll and doing any of the reporting.
Okay.
And when that, if and when that happened, hasn't even been determined or discussed at this point.
Okay, so do you want me to give the basic fire department role access, or do you want me to just leave it off for now for them?
There's just really only 3 people at this point that we would give access to entering data into First Due.
So Randall,
Okay.
I'll just tell you what we did so that it helps you at ease a little bit. And I know it's a milestone to jump into, but we require all the volunteers that respond to do their report while they're on the call to actually receive their stipend pay. It's all through on the iPad, or their phone even. So just a little tidbit. We've had great success with it because trying to track down personnel and all that, responding, it works really well. So.
No, totally agree. And being the person that has to enter it into Zoll right now, that would definitely be my goal.
Okay.
And it's going to have to be probably sometime in the near future as I look to retire here soon. So, but at this point, we're just not ready for it. But could be 6 months, could be a year. I'm not real sure yet.
Okay. So why don't we do this? Why don't we set this up as if you were going to give them access? If you want to save this role and maybe create a different one for them for the time being, you can do that. Or you can come in and disable everything until you're ready. But I can show you at least and have it recorded as far as like what it should look like when you're ready to give them access.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So for now, it sounds like you're going to be doing a self-authorization process because you are the only one entering. And so you don't need anybody to come behind you and give that final stamp of approval. If
Correct.
Down the line, when you give your basic firefighters access to do the reports, if you decide to implement like an authorization process where you have specific people, or maybe you will be the one to kind of look over everyone's charts and give it that final stamp of approval, then that permission group or that role that is going to be doing the approval or the authorization needs to have this permission on. Okay, this is giving them the permission to authorize reports. Otherwise, if you leave it off, then they won't be able to authorize, but I'm going to make this setting in your fire incident setup to do self-authorization for now. And that's also something that you may need to change in the future. We'll get there. We'll discuss that a little bit more in depth later. As we go through these permissions as well, there are little tool tips here that you can hover over to see what each permission turns on. Okay. So when your basic firefighters do have access to do reports, you probably want them to be able to complete a report. They don't need access to the backend setup. Okay. As far as incidents go, you probably do want them to be able to read, update, and update reports. Now, the ability to create here, if you've turned this on for them, this is going to allow them to create a non-CAD generated report from scratch. So, you know, once your CAD integration is up and running, you may not want them to be able to create a blank incident. So you might want to leave that off. If you're training, you may want to turn it on for them so that they can do test incidents. But that's what this is. And then there's the delete button, right? You can allow certain permission groups or certain roles to be able to delete fire reports. Then comes marking incomplete. So marking incomplete does one of two things. So if you are using the authorization process, when someone completes a PCR, it goes to a status of pending authorization. And then someone of higher authority comes in and they can either authorize it or they can mark it incomplete. So if they mark it incomplete, that means they're rejecting it and they probably need somebody to go in and fix something or add something. So that's one instance in where you would mark incomplete. The second situation where you might mark incomplete is when you need to unlock a locked report. Once a report has been authorized, it's locked. So if someone needs to go in afterwards and make edits, you need to mark it incomplete to unlock it. Okay. So usually your basic firefighter will not need the ability to unlock a report. And most departments say, you know, if they need it unlocked, they can ask somebody who has access to do that. Next, we have NFIRS AI generation permission. So currently the AI doesn't work for Nearest. They're finishing up the development on that for now. So whenever that works, I'm not sure if they're going to change the verbiage here or if it's going to be a separate setting. But if you do want to allow your firefighters to be able to use the AI feature, you can always turn it on. Okay. Override narrative. There is a setting in the setup that you can turn on that will prevent people from being able to edit other people's narratives. Now, when you turn that on, you can turn this permission on for specific roles to allow them to override that setting, and they would be able to still edit other people's narratives. Your basic firefighters, do you need to have them be able to print fire reports?
Was that a question?
Yes. Do you
Repeat
need them
again?
Your basic firefighters, will they need to be able to print fire reports?
No.
Okay. But yeah, that would give them access. This would give them access to print reports, print arson reports, or any custom reports that exist. If they're not deleting reports, they probably don't need to see any deleted reports or recover any deleted reports. Saved views. When you go to your fire incident list, you have the ability to save filters or columns settings that you've created. Usually for your basic firefighters, most departments will give them the ability to read or use a saved view, but not to update, create, or delete. That way you don't end up with like hundreds of saved views. And when you create a saved view, it creates it for the entire department. You also have the ability in your setup to designate certain fields as read-only, for example, your CAD times. But if you make them read only, it's probably because you don't want people to change them. So this would probably be something you would turn on for like administrators or officers or something of that sort. Now, for your basic firefighters, are you okay if they see completed reports? Are you going to allow them to open up and view an authorized report? They won't be able to alter it, just view it.
That's kind of undetermined at this time.
Okay. So normally most departments, when you do give them access to complete reports, most departments also allow them to view a completed report. And then you can decide on whether or not you only want them to be able to see incidents that they're assigned to versus all incidents. So if you're okay with them seeing all incidents, you'll click on allow here, or if you only want them to see incidents that they're assigned to, you'll turn this off for them. Okay. So that is how I would set up kind of your basic end user account or role. And you would click save here. Do you want me to save this, or do you want me to just exit out of here and leave everything blank and delete their access?
You can leave it or save it as is for now. Obviously, I have the ability to go back and change, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can leave it, save it.
Okay. All right, now we're gonna mosey on over to your incident documentation. So we'll go to your fire incident list. Okay, yeah, you don't have your CAD integration, obviously is not live yet. I'm going to turn some things on so that I can access reports since CAD is not live. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mimic a CAD or a dispatch. So I'm going to do that by just going to your dispatch incident list. We'll choose something here. We'll choose some units. Just the test. And I'm not going to put an address. All right. So let's quickly kind of go over the user interface. This is your fire incident list. Up at the top, you've got filters. Now you can't see them because one has already been pre-applied for you, and that's the search period of the last 15 days. If you do want to access your filters, you need to hit the edit button. And then here you can see that these filters appear. You can click on this downward arrow and expand to see the rest of your filters. Now, I don't know if you guys are planning on importing historical data, but once, if you are, and your historical data has been migrated into the system, when you want to access them, you need to click on this show only imported button. Okay. You'll have to fix your search period, show only imported, and then you'll be able to see your historical records. If this is not clicked, you'll never be able to see them. Okay. All right, so once you set your filters, you can always hit apply and it will apply those filters. Now you also have the ability to adjust your columns. You can click and drag and move your columns around. In addition, you can hit on this show button and you can activate or deactivate your column. So let's say I don't want to see shift. I can click on this and it undoes it. It makes it disappear. And then I can add what other, additional things I want to see. Different columns. Okay. Now, once you have a view that you like, and let's say you want to be able to come back to these filters and columns that you've set up, you can save it. It's called a save view. So you're going to click on this little floppy disk icon and you'll name your view. Okay. And now in the top left-hand corner, you'll have a drop down of all of your save views. And as I mentioned before, when you save a view, it saves it for your entire department. So anybody who has access to read a save view, they will be able to see it and use it. All right, so I'm going to just remove that for now. All right, so whenever your CAD is live, right, the system basically understands that every dispatch requires a fire report. So it will auto-generate your fire reports from CAD, and it will look something like this. Obviously, you'll have your address here. You'll have some additional information listed here, including an incident number. This one was a fake one I made, so it doesn't have all that information. But when you get a newly generated fire report, it starts out with the status of not started, and you have this little play button here. Now, once somebody goes in and they make edits, it will then change to a status of incomplete. Now, if someone decides to create a brand new report from scratch, a non-CAD generated report by clicking on this add new button, that will also start out with the status of incomplete. And this will be a pencil button here. Once all of the requirements are met, you've done your documentation, all of the requirements are met, and you hit that complete button, as long as everything is correct and everything is complete, it will then, normally if you're doing the authorization process, it would then change to a status of pending authorization. Okay, so for those of you who are going to be using an authorization process, it will change to a status of pending authorization, and then there will be 3 different ways that you can authorize a report. Okay, 2 of those 3 ways are from this incident list. So when a report has a status of pending authorization, you will have an icon in here that looks like this one that's grayed out. It's a paper with a corner folded over and a circle with a check mark. And so you'll have a blue icon like that in here, and you can click on that and you can authorize it from outside of the chart. Another way that you can authorize is by selecting all of your incidents that are pending authorization. And as long as you're selecting things that are pending authorization, this authorize button will turn blue and you can do a bulk authorization. Last but not least, the final way that you'd be able to authorize is to go into the chart. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up. When you go into the chart, you'll have 2 options there. You'll have one that says, instead of complete and save, you'll have one that says authorize, and then one that says to mark incomplete. Obviously, like I mentioned before, if you mark it incomplete, it means that they need to fix something. So I'm looking at your report now, and I can see that you're still on NFIRS. So let me ask you right now, do I have your permission to flip your site to nearest instead? Once I flip it to nearest, I can't go back to NFIRS, but my understanding is you're only going to go live with NFIRS anyway. All right, we are only going to go live with nearest anyways.
I'm not real sure how to answer that question at this point.
Okay. Is it possible is it a possibility that you will go live with first due on NFIRS, or are you only going to go live with first due using nearest?
We are all
Alright.
only going live using Nearest on
Okay.
that. Sorry, I was tied up.
It's okay. I just wanted to clarify.
Thanks, Chad.
All right, so I was hoping that you had all had your sites flipped, but I guess it wasn't. So I'm going to do that right now for you. All right, I'm in what's called super admin, and you guys don't have access to this. I'm trying to go to fire incidents up here. You get this big warning. So I have flipped your site to nearest. And let's see. Keys Fire Protection District. You guys are not live, right? You guys, it's only Patterson and West Stanislaus that are live on First Due, correct?
That is correct for the whole county. The only
Okay.
other is, I believe, Stanislaus Consolidated might have gone up with Modesto.
Yes, they did. All right, so I'm gonna flip keys to nearest as well then. So let's go back to, and if Keys Fire Protection District, if you guys are following along, you'll just need to reload your page, refresh, and then it should register the changes. Oh, why am I going back to the stuff? Sorry here. All right, so now let me go back into the form and we can just, I'll give you a brief introduction to the form. So over on the left here, you've got, sorry, hold on. Just make sure that I'm in the correct thing. Okay. I got confused because there were times populating. It must have just used the times that I created the call to populate all this stuff. All right. So over on the left here, you've got your major sections. A lot of it is the same as NFIRS, but there are a few key differences. At the top of each major section, you've got your different subsections, and you can click on these to skip to them, or you can just scroll up and down. Okay. At the very top, you've got your incident information. When you click on this circle with an eye, it pulls up all of your CAD info and your CAD notes, your dispatch notes. You've got your save button and your complete button. Now, as far as nearest goes, and maybe this is something for Patterson and West Stanislaus to understand. So in NFIRS, right, we don't have workflows built out for all of the national NFIRS requirements. So that means, you have to hit the complete button to kind of apply all of the requirements and see what is required. We've changed that in nearest. So in nearest, what we've done is we've taken all of the national nearest requirements and we've built them into what we call error validation workflows. And so that's what these little red flags are. Okay. It's showing you everything that is whatever, is flagging a message, an error message, something's incorrect, or something is blank when it needs to get filled out. So, and the great thing about this is as you fix the issue or as you document something, right, the red automatically goes away. That's just taking a little time, but the red goes away. You can see that there. All right. So that is in general how this works. Over to the left, if you need to access the main menu, you do not need to close. You can always come here. And this is the main menu on the left-hand side. Okay. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is when someone has the chart open, no one else can access that chart. So you can see here, everything's grayed out because I have it opened up here. So let me close, and then you'll see that you'll now be able to access the full chart. Okay. All right. So once somebody authorizes a report, it will then, this symbol here will then change to an I, meaning that it is view only and it's locked. Now for Houston, you guys are not going to be using the authorization process, at least not to start out with. So for you, I'm going to do a setting where it skips that pending authorization process. So it'll be in the status of incomplete as you're filling it out. And whenever you complete the report and you meet all the requirements, it'll go straight to authorized. All right, now this is an audit trail icon. It gives you the date, time, the user who accessed the report, and a general description of what happened. This is your apparatus section. So as I mentioned before, only one person can access the full report at a time. But if, let's say you have a fire where you've got multiple units dispatched, they all, everyone's back at the station, someone's in the full report completing the nearest report, but maybe you have people on other units that need to go in and make adjustments. Whether, they may need to adjust their unit times, or maybe they want to add personnel, or maybe they want to leave an apparatus narrative or unit narrative. They can do so without having to wait for that one person to complete the report. They can just click on here and they would select their unit, and then they can adjust times, you can adjust personnel, and you can, add a narrative if you need to. Next, you've got this little print icon. Now, I like to show people, you've got some of these different reports. Whenever you access a report, there's report options. So if you need to redact a report, you can choose what you want to redact. If you want to include additional information, you can include additional information in your fire reports. This is a deleted incident history. It's never been deleted. It's not going to show you anything. This paperclip icon is for attachments. You can view or add an attachment. And last but not least, you've got this trash bin. So when you delete a report, it drops off of this list, but it ends up in your deleted fire incidents list, and it will stay here for a specified amount of time before it's permanently removed from the system. Okay, so there's a default setting of 30 days right now, and so you can see the countdown of how much time you have left to recover it. So if you want to recover it, you just go to actions, you click on this recover icon, it asks you, are you sure? You say yes, it drops off of this list and it returns back onto your fire incident list. And now that it's been deleted and recovered, your deleted incident history will show you some information on that. All right, so now that we've gone through that, let's go ahead and go through your fire incident setup. So this is probably the biggest thing that you guys need to follow along with. And for Patterson and West Stanislaus, you'll note that a lot of these settings are the same. There are just a couple that change, and there's a couple that have disappeared because things changed with nearest. Okay, so first and foremost is the ability to enable QA/QI email notifications. And what this does is whenever a chart is marked incomplete, you can send an automatic notification to any or all of these three people. You can have an email go out to the member completing the report, the officer in charge, or the person who does the marking incomplete or who does the unauthorization. So again, there are two times you would mark incomplete, right? When you're rejecting a report and you don't want to authorize it, or when you are unlocking a locked report. Now, if you do decide to enable these QA/QI email notifications, I would also suggest that you require a reason for marking incomplete. And what that does is when somebody marks it incomplete, it requires them to document why they're marking it incomplete. And that reason will get included in the email to all of these recipients. Okay. Now for Houston, because you are the only person that's going to be entering these in, I'm going to shut these off. And when you unlock a report, you probably don't want to get an email to yourself that you unlocked a report. So I will leave these off for now. All right, next you've got the incident number format. So you have the ability to format or create your own incident number. So just to show you really quick, when CAD is live, you have a spot for your incident number and you have a spot for your dispatch number. So and I think maybe your CAD does your CAD give you a department specific incident number?
It does.
Okay, so you probably don't want to format your own, and you probably just want to inherit what comes from CAD. So if that is the case, then I would just leave all of this unconfigured and blank. And that would allow you to just have the same incident number that your CAD is going to assign you. This setting is going to go away. I mean, this doesn't really apply. So, and you can't even fill it out. So don't worry about this. The next question asks, how long do you want to keep the deleted incidents in the deleted list before they're permanently removed? So for Houston, are you okay with the default setting of 30 days, or do you want to change that setting?
Remind me again what you mean by deleted.
So when you go to your fire incident list, if you decide, hey, this report is, I don't know, maybe CAD sent out an incorrect dispatch, right? Or they sent out somehow an incident populated in your incident list and it's not yours. So let's say you want to delete it. Then you can click on this and remove it.
We're obviously not talking about actually deleting information out of.
Yes, we are.
Deleting.
Yes, we are. So when I hit this delete button, right now, it doesn't permanently go away. Right now, it goes into the deleted fire incidents list. But after 30 days, that default setting is for 30 days. So after 30 days, it's permanently gone from the system. So I have 30 days to recover it if I decide I need to use it. So this setting is
I'm sorry,
asking.
silly question. So we complete a report, it's done, it's in the system, and a year from now, we need to pull that data and report back up. It's not literally deleted.
No, a report that's completed is not deleted. It's locked and it will permanently stay in your system.
All right.
This is just, let's say you gave somebody the ability, sorry, where am I going? Well, we'll just use this incident, for example, right? I created this, oh, I deleted it, that's why. Silly me, I gotta recover it. All right, so I just created this incident, but this is not a real one, right? These are all tests. So when you go live, you don't want this in your system. So I can delete it. So that's an instance of, that's an example of when you'd want to delete a report. Maybe your guys are doing test incidents and they'll create a bunch, but you'll need to be able to delete them.
Okay.
But just if you gave, let's say, for example, you accidentally deleted something that you didn't want to delete, you didn't mean to delete, it's going to stay in your deleted incidents list for 30 days right now before it's permanently gone. So you'll have 30 days to figure out that you need to recover that chart. So are you okay with?
Let's make it 90 days until we get this learned and comfortable with it.
Okay, sounds good. All right, next is your fire incident and activity timer. So this is when you've got a chart open and you're doing documentation, let's say you step away. After 10 minutes of no keystrokes or no documentation changes, the system will save what you've documented and close the chart. Are you okay with 10 minutes?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Then you've got your dispatch incident type display. So what this is this is asking you what information do you want to display in your dispatch incident type field. So that is right here. So you have some options. And let me pull up under response. I'm going to pull up your dispatch incident types just to help you better understand what these options are. So you've got code. And because you're on Nearest, really, your only two options really are code and name or name. So in your dispatch incident types, right, this was a workbook that was submitted to your implementation manager and uploaded into your system. This probably came from your dispatch center. So these are your dispatch codes, and this is how they were named. So do you want to include both the code and the name of the dispatch, or do you just want to show the name of the dispatch?
Code and name.
Okay. Next is your date range code. So if you remember when you go to your fire incident list, there's a defaulted filter, right? And it filters it for the last 15 days. So you can change that default to 730 or 60, and most departments go with 30 or 60. So what would you like to do?
Let's go with 30.
This next setting asks if you want users to be able to create blank incident documents from scratch. So this makes it so that someone in your department is available, or not available, is able, sorry, to create a blank incident from scratch, meaning a non-CAD generated incident. So you can turn this on, and let's say you want only yourself to be able to do that. You can turn this on, and then in all the other roles, under roles and permissions, you can turn off the ability to create an incident. So you can tailor this and only give access to specific individuals. But if you want someone in your department to be able to do this, you need to turn it on over here. So for now, for training, I would suggest that you leave it on. And then later on, if you decide that no one in your department should be able to create a blank incident, then you can turn it off.
Okay.
Okay. If you are leaving it on, you have some options. You can use the automatic incident numbering, but you didn't set anything up here. So you probably just want to leave the incident number blank for now. All right. Next question asks, do you want to allow users to access and complete documentation when logged in as a unit user? So this is mainly for clients who are utilizing the response module. So when you are using the response module, oftentimes you will end up setting up user accounts for your apparatuses, and we call those unit user accounts. So for example, if you have an Engine 1, Engine 1 might have a tablet that's dedicated to it. And that tablet will be logged into the First Do app under the as Engine 1 using the Engine 1 account. Now, while you are logged into the First Do app as Engine 1, this setting would allow you to access the fire report, and your personnel would be able to start or complete their fire documentation using that Engine 1 account. If you decide to turn this on for them, there's a couple things you need to understand. One is when you go to your fire incident list and you access that audit trail, you are not going to see a specific individual that was logged in. You're going to see that Engine 1 was logged in. Okay. The second thing to understand is that fire incident reporting does not have offline capabilities. So what that means is if you're using a unit user account, and oftentimes people are using a unit user account while they're in the apparatus, right? So if that apparatus is on the move, and let's say, you know, at some point you're documenting and at some point you lose reception for a few seconds, everything from that moment on, it'll look like a complete report. Everything that all the documentation they complete from that moment on will get lost. So it'll look like they're done with the report and they'll try to save it, but not everything from that moment on will be gone. So you need to make sure if you're going to do this, you need to make sure your personnel understand that they need to be in a place with good continuous reception if they're documenting. Okay. Do you want me to leave this on? I know that you're probably only going to be doing this on a desktop.
Chad, you had some comment I saw pop up in regards to this.
We have set up where every apparatus in the county has its own user account to have a tablet that is logged on. But I think in the Houston scenario, I'm not sure if you want to have that on or off.
Let's go off for now.
Okay.
Okay. This button here is going to turn on a CAD refresh button in your fire form. This is just with the click of a button, it's going to allow you to re-import CAD in case there are any updates in times or anything else since you opened up the chart. Next question asks, do you use the wildland form for outdoor fires? So it's not really a form, right? It's just those wildland questions like acres burned. Do you guys answer those questions, use those questions in your fire reports?
Not really.
Not really? Okay, so you can leave them off. If you don't want those questions to appear in your report, then you can leave them off. Otherwise, for those of you who do want to use it, you can turn it on. And this is one difference between NFIRS and NERIS, right? If you were on NFIRS, you'd have all of those incident types listed, but now those numbered incident types have changed. So now you
Okay.
only have 3 of them here. So you can default these to per incident. If you default them to per incident, it means that those wildland questions, when you have this type of incident type, the wildland questions will be there, but they will be optional. If you decide that you want to require them for these, for, you know, a specific incident type, you can click on always and it would make them required. Or you can click on never and just say, for that specific incident type, I don't want those questions to be there, and you can click on never. And most departments just choose per incident for everything. I'm going to leave this off for now for Houston then.
And I believe it's only for SRA fires. Don't quote me on that, but does that sound right? So we have it active on ours.
Okay. All right, and if you have it active on yours, then this question becomes available to you. Do you want to submit to Irwin? So Irwin is a different, is another wildland fire reporting platform, and we can export to them. But if you don't know what Irwin is, then you probably don't send data to them.
I don't believe anywhere in the county be tying to Irwin.
Okay. For Houston, do you want to populate information from occupancy when available? So what this does is it takes information that you have in pre-planning and occupancy, and it will populate that in your fire report if the incident address is the same.
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. All right. Now, this is where you can require authorization. So for Houston, what I will do is leave all of this off. And when you leave all of this off, there is no authorization that's required. It's basically self-authorization. When you complete all of the requirements, it goes straight from incomplete to authorized. But for those of you who do want to utilize the authorization process, you can either select all, or you can go ahead and go through and choose the specific incident types for which you want to require authorization. You can, you know, be very specific with it if you want. Last but not least, you have the ability to turn this on, and it asks, do you want to automatically refresh CAD for pending authorization incidents? So what this does is when an incident goes from incomplete to pending authorization, it will automatically trigger a re-import of CAD, just in case there's any updates. And I've been informed that when this happens, it will override whatever changes you've made as far as CAD data goes. So if you anticipate making changes to times or, you know, to certain things, and you don't want that to get overridden, then I would just unclick this. And for Houston, because you're not doing authorization, none of your incidents will go to the pending authorization status anyway. So this wouldn't do anything for you, even if you turned it on. Okay. So again, always remember to hit the save button. Next is response. So this question asks, is your PSAP and your dispatch center the same? So PSAP stands for Public Safety Answering Point. So they're the people who pick up the 911 call. If they are the same entity that dispatches your department out, then they are the same. So I think they're the same for you guys, correct?
They are the same.
Okay. And you can choose to enter in your dispatch center ID number here. You don't need to. This is just for your record keeping, and it doesn't affect your exports in any way. All right. Next question asks, do you want your apparatus dispatch times to auto-populate from your dispatch notified time? I don't think this is needed by any of you. And just to clarify what this does is it will take the time that dispatch got the call and use that as a time your apparatuses were dispatched. So you would not be able to track processing times, right? Because everything would look like 0 seconds. Okay. And this is mainly a setting that's meant for departments that don't have a CAD integration. Okay. next question asks, how do you want to populate your station? There's a field in the report for your station. Oh, I know what that happened. Sorry, I'm gonna have to come back here and turn on the unit user setting. I'll turn it off after we're done, but my account is a unit user account. So when I turn it off, I don't have access anymore. All right. So how do you want to populate your station? Do you want it to populate based off of the first arriving apparatus or based off of your fire zones? Now, pardon me?
Apparatus.
Okay. Cool. And if you decided for those of you, if any of you are deciding fire zones, this really should only be used if your shapefiles that you submitted, if they break up your jurisdiction based off of your station. Now, if they don't delineate your stations and it's just your entire jurisdiction, then this setting wouldn't be beneficial to you. And speaking of fire zones, you can turn on two different kind of zone fields that we have available for you. These are not, NFIRS or nearest fields, but this is just for tracking. So you can enable a fire zone field. So if a shapefile was submitted for your department that delineates zones and you want to be able to run reports on those zones, you can enable this. And fire zones, they only auto-populate, they only populate from CAD, and they're based off of the incident location relative to, the shapefiles or the zones that you submitted. You also have something called a response zone. So response zones are user defined. So let's say your fire zone, the shapefile you submitted only outlines your entire jurisdiction. And let's say you still want to be able to track, let's say, your station jurisdictions. Then what you can do is enable response zones, and you need to create your zones under Department Fields Management. You're going to come here and add, and you can add your station 1, station 2. And I always suggest adding an extra value for out of district. That way you can track jurisdiction and run reports off of them. Now, some dispatch centers, they send over zone information in the CAD feed. So if you know that your dispatch center sends over zone information in your CAD feed, you can have these zones auto-populate from CAD in your charts. If that's the case and you want to do that, number one, you need to let me know, because we need to let the CAD team know that that's what you intend to do. I have to put a ticket in. And number two, when you create your response zones here, the way you spell it out needs to match exactly with how it comes over from CAD. Okay. So for, go ahead.
So in response zones, I just had a pretty in-depth meeting yesterday with the way the calls are being dispatched. So now that we're going to more of a regional approach with all the departments in the region, I'll use us as an example. So currently right now, the Patterson resource, if it gets dispatched to, we'll use West End since it's easy, it is not creating a call or an incident report in first due. Is this the area where we need to list all the response zones in the county per department login? Because we run mutual aid with Houston, right? Say Houston needs a whatever, squad 51 from Patterson. We're not getting that call in first due. So we have to create our own call. Does that make sense?
It does. It should. Are we working on getting those populated in your fire incident list?
That's why I'm asking you. So I got an example the other day, right? We had a fire in West End. They pulled the Patterson resource. They pulled Westport, Mountain View. We're not getting those calls generated for an incident report. It's technically West End's report, but it's also a responding agency that are all in the same first due platform, that we're not getting a call created on our end of first due.
Okay, I'll have to ask about that. Usually, the way it usually works is you should get, anytime you're dispatched, you should get an incident in your incident list and a fire report for you to fill out.
Wanted to bring it up because we are going more of a global aspect here for the whole county. And we need to kind of figure out where we need to put all of our resources from the county. So we all have our own individual things, but the calls are not being created, if that makes sense. So like if Modesto gets a call right now and asks for Patterson County 6, I'm not going to get that call. I'll get dispatch and I'll go, but I'm not going to get a call generated in first view on my
Yeah.
side. There's time.
Okay.
And that is a CAD issue on the CAD end that we have today. I believe it's going to be fixed in the new Central Square.
Oh, great.
Want to bring it up just so everyone's aware.
Okay.
You were with me last time, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same thing.
Well, hopefully, I guess whenever your CAD is up and running with the new dispatch center or with the new CAD vendor, we'll see if, fingers crossed, that, you know, that won't be an issue anymore. For Houston, do you want to document fire zones or response zones?
Yeah, I think that that could generate some good information down the road. So I would say yes.
Okay, so
And
we'll leave-
you said something about also creating a zone that's say a mutual aid to another agency.
yes, I mean, okay, so fire zones, you don't really have control on, you know, how this gets documented necessarily, because this auto populates based off of your shape files, right? And this only auto populates from CAD. The response zones, you have more control over it, and fire zones don't always auto populate. I've been told that if you don't have that address in your occupancy records, oftentimes it will show up blank. So I would say if I were to choose between the two, you can enable both of them. But if I had to choose one, I would probably choose response zones, because response zones can be manually filled out. And this way you can make sure that you're consistently collecting the zone information you want. Now, if your dispatch center is sending over zone information, you can have your zones auto-populate from CAD. But you still need to create those zones, and that's what you do here under Department Fields Management. You create your zones. So if you're going to have them auto-populate from CAD, you need to have the names match with how they're coming over from CAD. If you're not worried about CAD and you just want to create your own zones, so for example, if you want this to be how you're capturing you know, how many times you respond in to Patterson's jurisdiction, then you can use this that way as well. It's up to you how you want to use it. You can use it for your station jurisdictions. You can use it for, you know, mutual aid jurisdictions. So yeah, so you can say, you know, you can have it listed as Houston, and then you can put, you know, West Stanislaus, Patterson, Modesto, all of that, and then or you can, it's up to you how you want to list them. So do you know what you would like to track for response zones?
Yeah, by name.
Okay, and what are you looking to track? Are you looking to track
Well,
all of,
Chad, I just want to confirm, Chad, we're talking about like H101 and H102, et cetera.
That's my understanding as well. Yep.
Say that again.
Yes, that is my understanding as well.
Yeah, so our district, we only have, well, we have 3 zones, H101, H102, and H103. We did create a target hazard for a specific location, a large retirement home facility. I don't know that we gave it a number, so I don't know how we would add that one. Chad, any ideas on that?
Currently, just so you know, we only have response zone field
Could not hear you, Jeff.
So currently we only have the response zone field enabled in ours. And we've been using it for almost 2 years now. So we don't have the fire zone.
Chief,
So-
do you think that's a limitation of how you're using it or a limitation of the existing CAD?
A little bit of both, if that makes sense. So, like she's saying, there's ways to capture data, which I don't believe we currently need yet, just because we're so early into this. But it definitely would benefit us in the future, if that makes sense. So you can track it more, data capturing and analytics and stuff like that. So I think keep it as minimal as possible for now, because your zones, the H10 zones, those are just like your G zones, right, for your CAD that you're talking about, Chief?
Yeah, just H101 city limits, 102's west side, 103's east side, etc.
Yeah, and that all gets hashed out at CAD. So I think if you just check your response zone field, and then you should be good. I wouldn't create anything yet, because we technically don't have anything in ours, and it's all coming from CAD. So
Okay.
if that makes sense to
Okay, so I put H101, 102, 103. Is that, do you want to proceed with this, or should I remove them?
Just remove them. I'll make a note of it, and we'll follow up on it later. Sorry to waste your time.
No, it's okay. All right, so I'm gonna enable them, but you still need to go in and add your response zones then, okay? And if you are going to have them populate from CAD, please let me know. Next question here is asking, how do you want to pool your personnel and display your responding units? So this depends on how you're doing your scheduling, right? So if it's based off of the apparatus name, you can choose that, or if it's based off a unit call sign, you can do it that way. So for Houston, how do you want to do it? Based off of apparatus name or unit call sign?
And that's 100% just preference, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how you guys get dispatched, right? So for example, you have the unit call sign for E1, for engine 1. But let's say the actual apparatus engine 1 is out of service. And let's say engine 501 is moving up to fill in for that E1 dispatch. So, are you assigning people to a specific apparatus, which would be E501, or are you just going to base it off of the unit call sign, which would then be E1 for that? Unless from your dispatch center, unless they're always dispatching based off of the specific apparatus.
which one are you looking for? So I'll tell you what we do. Resources, you're under resources.
Yes.
What's your question so far? Full personnel?
Yep.
Yeah, we use apparatus name.
Okay. You okay with that?
That'll be your, what numbers are you guys, Chief, from Houston 40 something?
All right. Are we good with apparatus name then? I just want to get the thumbs up before we move on.
Chief. Still there, Chief? He's quiet.
Okay. I think you're still muted.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I forgot I muted myself. I could not hear what Jeff was saying. Our agency is dispatched as just an agency, not by apparatus.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess then that depends on how you're doing your, well, you're dispatched by an apparatus, or you're dispatched by agency, but then let me ask you, are you calling back and letting the dispatch center know which units you're sending out?
That's correct.
And you're doing that by the apparatus name, right? You don't have a general one?
No, it could be engine 39 or engine 239, whatever.
Okay.
whatever one we want to take or whatever call type it is.
Okay, sounds good. And I'll base it off of apparatus name then. All right, next option is to take the default number of personnel from the apparatus record. Now, you guys have scheduling, and I don't think you need this. And because you have scheduling, when you download CAD, right? When you, not download, but when you open up your report, your apparatuses should be populated there. And they should have all of the personnel that are assigned to those apparatuses already there. So you don't need the default number.
No, in our case, let me make sure I'm following you, that we're not using scheduling at this point. We've only had one training session on it, and we're not sure we will or will not use scheduling.
Okay,
So,
but if you don't use scheduling, are you planning on manually documenting all of the personnel that were on each of your apparatuses?
that would be correct.
Okay, then you won't need this.
Correct.
Because NERIS and NFIRS, they don't care about the specific personnel. They just want the count of people on each apparatus. So if you just want to do that and send that, that's where you would click on this. All right, next is something called an apparatus assignment override. So when this is off, the way our system works is when you open up a report and you start documenting personnel that are on each apparatus, you're only able, like a single individual can only be assigned or placed on to one apparatus for a single incident. But we do have some departments that want the ability to take one individual and assign them to multiple apparatuses. So they might want to take someone and assign them to both engine 239 and 339 on a single incident. Maybe they got reassigned in the middle of the call. Maybe one one apparatus hauled another apparatus to the scene. But do you need that ability? Do you want to be able to assign one person to multiple apparatuses, or do you just want it to be a 1-for-1?
I could see that being the case, but very, very rare.
Okay, then I will leave it on for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Next is the ability to document a single apparatus multiple times on a single incident. So this might be, for example, a situation where you have multiple apparatuses that were dispatched out to a call. And you get on scene and one of your apparatuses gets on scene and everyone's like, oh no, we've got enough stuff. You guys don't need to be here. So they arrive on scene, but they get canceled and then they leave. Now, maybe as the incident progresses, they're like, oh, we need more resources. So they call that engine back. And so they come back and you may want to document, the first time that an engine arrived on scene and then the second time it arrived on scene with separate times. If you need to be able to do that, then you need to turn this on.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so I'll turn it on for you. And by
That's
default, it turns on the apparatus assignment override as well. Okay. If you decide, sorry, this next setting, enable OIC based on personnel rank, this only applies if you have a CrewSense integration. So.
If you have a what?
CrewSense. CrewSense is another scheduling platform. So if you have an integration, if you're using CrewSense for scheduling and they're integrated with our platform, then you can use this setting. Otherwise, no, it doesn't apply. All right. Now, if you are using our scheduling, what happens is your officer in charge will auto-populate based off of your first arriving unit. So if you are okay with that, then you can just leave this setting off. If you are not okay with that and you don't want the OIC to auto-populate based off of the first arriving unit and you want to manually document it, then you will disable the setting. Okay.
Yeah, leave it disabled.
Disabled, okay. If you are using this, you can also decide to exclude EMS units from your officer in charge logic. So let's say you left this on. Now, if an EMS unit gets on scene first and they're the first arriving unit, but they don't have an officer, and you don't want the officer in charge to populate from the EMS unit, then you would turn this on. Okay. Last but not least, you can have your officer in charge populate based off of an apparatus hierarchy. So when you turn this on, you can decide, hey, I want, if I have a chief, let's see, I know that there's a chief's vehicle here somewhere. Chief officer car. And let's put, I don't know, engine. So what this will do is, if in your incident, if you have a chief officer car that's dispatched and an engine that's dispatched, it'll use the chief officer first and designate that individual as the officer in charge. But if there is no chief officer, but there is an engine, then it will skip this and it'll go to the engine and use that officer as the officer in charge. Okay. I'm going to leave all of this. I'm just going to leave this disabled for you though, for Houston. Next is the ability to document writing positions. So if you are interested in documenting writing positions, you need to create them here. So for example, you would add, and you might put in, I don't know, driver. Do you guys use driver or engineer?
Engineer.
Okay. Engineer, you can put officer. You can even add firefighter if you want. And you can delete these if you need. Save. And where this is going to show up is when you go to your apparatus section. Come here. Your personnel. I'm going to add some people. Okay. So once your personnel are added, you can come in here and you can manually document their position. Or if you have scheduling, you can have that auto-populate from scheduling. And the way you would do that is you'd go to scheduling. Once you've created your positions, you can do this. You go to scheduling, you go to setup, you go to your assignments. And then when you go into an assignment, you have your positions here. And so here, your engineer, you can, say that they're going to be the officer, or not engineer, sorry, the captain will be the officer, the engineer will be the engineer. And, you can populate these guys as firefighters. Okay, and you can save. Then when, they populate from scheduling, these writing positions will also auto-populate. Next, we have the station response section. So this really only benefits or applies to you if you have people respond to the station on standby for incidents, meaning they show up to the station and they don't actually go out on an apparatus. They don't actually go to the incident. They're just at the station on standby in case they need to go out to the incident. So if you have that situation and you want to track those individuals on the incident documents, you need to turn this on. Okay. And then in addition, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, leave it on.
Okay. And then in addition, this is already turned on for you, but you can populate those personnel. You can have them auto-populate in that station response section by having them log into the responder app, the responder app, First View app, with their personal account, not a unit user account. They'll use their personal account and then they can status themselves. And if they do that, then they will end up in the station response section with their times auto-populated. Okay. Of course, that mapping does need to get created, and you're going to do that in, let me come here. It's going to be under response, and you're going to go to responder setup. And you would do that here under responder status. There's a user response mapping. So I would go over this with whenever you guys have your meeting with the responder product specialist, and then they can help you set all of that up. Right. Last but not least, we've got the payroll summary section. Now this only applies, I would only turn this on if you pay per incident or give points per incident. So if you give a flat rate or a stipend per incident, or you pay hourly per incident, then I would turn this on.
We go back, so
For Houston, are you gonna need to use this? Is this gonna
No.
benefit you?
No,
No.
off.
Okay. For any of the other departments, is this something that you guys might need?
No for Daenerys.
Okay. Let me just quickly cover this because it's recorded in case any of the other departments that didn't show up might want to use it. Okay, so I'm going to save this and I'm going to show you what that looks like, and I will turn it off for you when we're done. All right, so that station response section, that's going to be under apparatus, and you have the station response here. So if you want to manually add people who responded to this station on standby, you can go ahead and do that and add them. You can go into each individual and add the station that they responded to, or the or their times. You know, you can add that in, or you can just do it in bulk, right? You can select them both, update, and let's say we want to say, and you can do multiple of these. You can do any number of these that you want, but let's say we just want to document the station that they went to, and they both responded to station 39, and we'll update, and that would update them both. Okay. Now, for the payroll summary section, anybody who is assigned to an apparatus or to the station response section, they both automatically populate in the payroll summary section. And the time in, time out, total time, all of that will get auto-calculated based off of their apparatus times or their station response times. Now, just the same, you can go into them individually. You can designate an activity type. You know, if they get paid $15 a call, you can put that stipend in here. Oh boy, it's telling me I'm offline. Okay, yeah. $15, or if you give them, you know, points, you can assign a point and update. And then just the same, you can do it in bulk, right? If everybody gets, you know, a point per call, you can do that. And just assign everybody 1 point per call. And down the line, if you are recording this payroll summary information, you will need to, you know, get your results, right? Get a report. And that's going to be under the reporting section. So you'll come here to your main menu. I never see it. Oh, there it is, reports. And it's going to be this payroll points section here. And you can get a points report, or you can get incidents, training, and events payroll. This is, you know, if they're getting like a stipend or paid per call there. So that's the report. And each of these, you know, you can go to advanced search to filter. All right, I'm going to go back here and turn this off for you. Save. Alrighty. Next are your aiding departments. So this is a list of all of your aiding departments. Now, in order for you to be able to successfully export to NERIS, you have to enter the NERIS entity ID for each of these departments. Okay, I will be providing you with a website where you can go and look that up, but this is that website. And so, for example, you know, you'll choose your state, California, and I think one of those was Atwater. And so I can see here the NERIS entity ID, just copy, go to your setup, edit this. Oops. You need to make sure you don't have any. Hold on. sure that I got this right. You have to be careful how you copy it because you might have preceding spaces and then that will cut off some of the numbers. There we go. Okay, so make sure you go through and you add all of them. And please note that each department is added twice. So if you ever need to manually add another aiding department, you need to click on Add New. And note that this is defaulted to given. You'll enter all this information, save, you'll add new again, and then you'll switch this to received and then enter the same information, save. All right. So we are up on our time and we still have a bit more to go through. Do we want to schedule our optimization session now, or would you like me to send you a link to schedule our final session? I'll give you one more option. I do have time right now. So if you want to just power through and go through the rest of this and just finish from here, we can do that as well. And it will probably take maybe another 30 minutes.
Also have a question on.
I'm good either way.
All right. Pardon me?
We're good to go through it now.
Okay, and how about Houston? Are you okay to continue?
Yeah, I am at this time.
Okay, all right, then we'll just continue. All right, next is size up. So because you guys have a CAD integration, you can take advantage of this open weather integration that we have. And what this does is it will pull in weather data from at the moment of the incident. Okay, and you can adjust your temperature scale if you want to change it. If you use the COVID special study field in your documentation, you can turn it on and you can even make it required. For Houston, do you guys still use this? You're muted, by the way.
No.
Okay. All right. And you guys did not sign up for the EMS module, so I'm going to leave this off. I'm going to hit save here. Operations. So we have something called the command and safety section in the operations section of our incident reports. So when it's off and you go to operations, this is what it looks like, right? You can document the actions taken, you can document the control date and time. Now, when you turn it on, and let me make sure that I saved. This is what it looks like instead. Now you have this command and safety section where you can document when initial command was established, who your incident commander was. If command was transferred, you can document the same information, excuse me. You can document your size up and other operation sections that were engaged. Okay. None of these additional fields are required, but they will be available to you to document if you want. So do you want to leave this on or do you want to turn it off?
Off for now, but something I might activate later.
Okay. Wrap up. So this wrap up section has to mainly deal with narratives and signatures. So first question for you is, do you want to allow someone to add a narrative even if they're not assigned to that call? So the main reason that departments choose to turn this on is for investigations.
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. Then we've got individual unit narratives that you can turn on versus a general department narrative. So I'm going to turn them both on and I'll show you what that looks like. So an individual unit narrative is a narrative section that is tied to an apparatus. So you come here, you open up, And you can have, you know, engine 339 leave its own narrative because, you know, what each unit sees on a fire might be different, right? And then you've got a general department narrative, which is in the wrap-up section. So this is just a big narrative section that has nothing to do with a specific apparatus. So now that you've seen it, do you want to have an individual unit narrative? And if you do, it's defaulted to being optional, but you can always, based off of the incident type, you can require that at least one unit narrative be documented, or you can make it mandatory. I have departments that make it mandatory for all structure fires.
Leave it on, but optional.
Okay. And then also for your general department narrative, do you want to leave that on? And you can have it be optional or mandatory.
And this is the narrative, just confirming this is the narrative for the call incident.
Yeah, this is this big general narrative for the entire incident.
No, that's required.
All right. And do you want to restrict users from editing each other's narratives?
Yes. Well, there's
Um,
only users me for now anyways.
Yeah, wow, that's true. And you're an admin, so even though you turned this on, you could still edit other people's narratives. All right, do you want to capture and require a signature to complete the report? This is not a nearest or an NFIRS requirement.
No.
Okay. You have the option here to set the officer in charge from the member completing the report or the other way around. Do you want to do that? And I would only suggest that you do that if your officer in charge and the person completing the report are usually the same person.
I'm sorry, repeat it one more time.
Okay, so my first question to you then is, do you want your officer in charge and the documented member completing the report to be the same person?
Yes.
Okay, so do you want, okay, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to set the officer in charge from the member completing the report, since you're not going to have your officer in charge auto-populate. So you could choose the direction in which it auto-populates, but and you can only choose one of the two, obviously, because they are opposite from each other. So we'll just do that. And just because you have it auto-populate, it doesn't mean that you can't change it. So if they happen to be different, you can make them different. All right. We're going to skip the EMS module since you guys are not doing that, and we'll go to form. So I saw earlier they already uploaded an image of your logo, so you don't need to upload that image. This is basically your letterhead, right, that you're formatting. So here under title, you can add the name of your department, maybe your address if you want, and then if you want to include a header, you can go ahead and leave that here. So this might be a confidentiality statement, right? Or it could be your mission statement, and it would show up here at the top of your report. Narrative templates, you can create templates here and they would be available anywhere there's a narrative. So one that I do is cancel prior to arrival. All units. Cancel. Now we come here. I reload. So if I come to my apparatus narrative, I can open it up. Let's say I'm typing an apparatus narrative and then I'm like, oh, let me use a template. Click on this, apply, and now it imports. And I can always edit it, change it however I want. And it's also available here in the wrap-up section. You can always come here, access, import. Right? So you can create whatever type of templates you want. We have a lot of departments that create ones that have like blanks where they can fill in the blank. Things of that sort. Field management. So field management is where you're going to come to manage your fields. Up at the top, this is where you can kind of manage the existing fields, right? So you're going to click on custom field management. And you can relabel your fields here. You can, for some fields, you can relabel your values or activate, deactivate values. And for some fields, again, you can also add your own custom values. Now, right now for the nearest specific fields, they are not allowing you to make too many adjustments. So for example, incident type, right? For nearest, there's a primary, secondary, and tertiary incident type. So the only thing that you really can do here for this is just to change the label. That's all you can do in the user interface. But for things like property type, you can change, oh, okay, never mind. You can only change the label here too. Maybe it's mixed use property. Okay, mixed use property. So mixed use property, I think, is just, I don't think this is a nearest field. This is kind of left over from NFIRS, and I believe that they probably kept it in here because there are other departments that still want to document it. But obviously here, you can label it here. I would never make a field required from here. You can use workflows to make things required. If you make it required here, then the only way that you can modify it is based off of incident type. You can't make it any more specific or nuanced. You can't make the requirements any more nuanced than that. So for mixed use property, you can edit the label here. You can go to values. You can change your value description here. You can deactivate values if you want here. And for this specific one, you can also add your own custom option. You can add your own custom value here. Now, because this is nearest, this is not a nearest field. I'm not exactly sure 100% on how you should code this. What I would advise you to do is maybe just follow the same kind of NFIRS +1 code, protocol, I guess, where let's say you want to add a value here. And let's say for that value, you would normally say medical use, okay? But you want something much more specific. And let's say it's, a dialysis center. Then, you could put dialysis center. And then you would start it with the code that you normally would use, which is 33 for medical use. And then a +1 code is, you just add an additional letter or number at the end. So you could put, 33D and save it. Now, nearest right now for nearest fields is not allowing any kind of +1 codes or custom values to be added. But I do believe that that ability will probably be coming soon because of the demand. So, all right, next is custom questions management. You have the ability to add your own custom fields to your form. So for Houston, do you guys have any custom fields that you might want to add? Things like gallons used, maybe?
Things like what?
Gallons used. I know a lot of departments do want to have that recorded.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Well, let me just quickly go over how you would do it. You would click on new custom question. Field label is the name of your question, right? The title of your question. Section is the section of the report that you want that question to live in. So just so you're familiar with the nomenclature, response, this is the section of the report. Dispatch is the subsection of the report. Okay. Data type is the type of answer you're going to collect. A Boolean, this is an example of a Boolean. It's a little on-off toggle. Okay. You can have date time, a list, integer number. Text string is a small free text and a memo is a larger free text. Now, if you decide to create a list, you're going to have your drop-down values. So the code doesn't really matter. I just number it sequentially. but the description is what's going to show up on your drop down. And if you do create a list, you can make it a multi-select or a single select. And again, here, I would never make it required here. I would never put yes for a custom question. I would always use a workflow to say when I want that question to get required. And then you can also make it read only, which not quite sure why you would create a custom question and then not let people fill it out. But anyways. But yeah, so that's how you can create a custom question. We've got report settings here. This is optional. You can come in here and, choose the days of the week that have the same peak hours and document those peak hours and save it. The only reason you might want to come in here and add your peak hours for all your days is we have some canned reports that reference your peak hours. So if you want to do things like staffing studies, you would need to log those hours in here in order to be able to run those reports. Next, we've got external resources. So you can add resources into your form as hyperlinks for your personnel. So one example might be, I will put in the nearest data dictionary. The URL, put nearest data. Save, and then I'll even put the nearest. Your personnel probably don't need this, but this is just a way for me to give it to you and you can have it saved somewhere. So now when you go into your report, I'm going to refresh. Up at the top here, you now have a resources tab and you can click on it and it will open up that web page for you. Right. We already talked about department fields management and adding your response zones here. Last but not least, we've got workflows. So you've got two different workflows. These nearest workflows, you'll notice you're not able to edit these. So these are workflows that we've created that are based off of the national nearest requirements. And we've added them here so you have some visibility on why things are being required. So for example, if cause of ignition is flagging red and you can't figure out why it's flagging red, you can come here and you can see that that field is right here and you can look at it. There are some limitations to this view though, and that is the fact that you can't see your values here. You can't see the parameters. So the team is aware, but to a certain degree, you're able to see the workflows that have been built into the system. Okay. And just know, as we go along, nearest, they are adding requirements. So one day there might be a field that's not required, and then tomorrow you log in and it suddenly is required. So as we get updates from nearest on their requirements, we are building them into your system. Workflows. So you can build your own workflows. And workflows are basically rules that you can build to tell the system when you want to hide a field, when you want to default or auto-populate a field, or when you want to flag a field red and make it required. Okay. So what I'm going to do is let's look at this report and let's build some workflows around, let's build some workflows around mixed use property. All right. Do you want to, when property type is filled out, do you want to require mixed use property to be documented?
No.
Are there specific call types or incident types for which you want to require property type then to be documented? So for example, do you want to require property type when it's a structure fire?
Yeah, for a structure fire, yes, not for a not necessarily for like a medical aid.
Okay. So let's do that. Let's build that in. I'm going to go to your setup and you're going to add new and you're going to look for that field that you want to build a workflow for. So property type. Now there are 3 types of workflows you can build. So you got to choose the one that you want to build. So we're going to choose error validation workflow, which is a requirement. And you're basically going to tell the system when you want it to flag red. So you hit the plus button. All workflows require a description. So the description is for you. You can put whatever you want here. It's just a way for you to come back and understand what you built or why you built this rule. So we're going to put required or structure fires. The validation message is what's going to show to the field. When something flags red, they can click on that little red exclamation mark and they can see your message. So you could just put required. Add conditions. So you're going to add conditions, and this is how you tell the system when you want it to flag red. Now, for an error validation workflow, one of your lines of criteria here, it has to equal the field that you're flagging. So I'm going to put property type. And what you're saying here is you want property type to flag red when property type is what? When it is empty. You'd only want it to flag when it's empty, right? Not when it's filled out. But we have to add an additional condition here because we only want it to flag red for structure fires. So how do I know it's a structure fire? Primary incident type found. And you can choose equal if you know that you're only going to choose one value, or you would choose in or not in if you're going to have to choose multiple values. So let me say structure fire. And so I know that there's multiple structure fire values. Okay. So what this is doing here is it's saying that you want to flag property type red when it's blank and the primary incident type indicates a structure fire. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to change this to secondary because now you have 3 incident types. You have primary, secondary, or tertiary. So I'm going to, if any one of them indicates a structure fire, I'm going to require it. All right, so now when we come back here, and let me put in a incident type of a structure fire. You'll find now it flags red. And once I fill it out, it's gone. Okay, so I'm also gonna let's also do a hide rule, and then let's do a default workflow. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say when property type is blank, let's hide mixed use property because you wouldn't need to fill it out if property type is blank. So what we're hiding is mixed use property, and we're doing a hide workflow. And again, the description's for you, so I'll just put hide when property type is blank. Add a condition. When property type is blank or is empty. Right, and when I come back here, let's refresh. Put a size up. So mixed use property is shown, but if I clear this out, it now hides. Okay. Last but not least, we can also create a default workflow where we auto-populate certain fields. So trying to think of what we can auto-populate here for you. Do you want to have your station auto-populate? I mean, it's supposed to auto-populate based off of your first arriving apparatus, but just as an example.
I don't think it hurt. We only have the one.
Okay. So it's this one, or Houston FPD, this one? Or station 39? It's station 39, isn't it?
We're station 39, yeah.
Okay. All right. So you'll come here and add, and then find the field that you want to create a workflow for, or that you want to auto-populate. That is station, and it's going to be a default workflow. And again, the description's always for you. And then I'll just put, you know, always populate with station 39. And then you're choosing the value that you're going to default it to. And then this is what you're going to select if you want every report to start out with this value. If you only want the report to have this value under very specific conditions, then you'll add a condition, add your conditions here. But in this case, I think you're saying every report can just start out with station 39, then we'll save. And what we'll do here is when I start a brand new report, station 39 is auto-populated. Okay, so what you're going to find is that the nearest requirements, the things that flag red, okay, that you have to document are quite minimal. And that is because at the beginning, nearest is just saying they just want data. They don't care if it's good quality data, they just want data. So as I mentioned, as time goes on, they've been adding more and more requirements, but it's still not very much. For your departments, I imagine, you know, many departments, right? You guys have to run reports. You use that data for things like grants, for other things. And so if you want to ensure that your personnel are documenting correctly or documenting well, I would advise you to go in and create workflows to make sure that they are documenting the things that you need. For Houston, you are the only person that's putting in reports, so you you don't necessarily need to do that. But if you are going to eventually down the line have your personnel document your reports, then they need to, it would be good for you to add those requirements in. Okay, so that is it for everything. This last tab I did not go over because there's nothing to show you right now. When you do go live, in the background, we will enter in your nearest entity ID, and what that will do is basically kind of finalize that connection between our platform and the nearest platform. and you will be live. So any chart that gets authorized or ends up in the authorized status will automatically export to Nearest. And on this page, you will be able to see all of your exports and whether or not they were successful or if they failed. If they fail, you need to let us know and we need to figure out why they failed. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for hanging tight. Does anyone have any questions? All right. I will be sending a follow-up email with all the information on, the things that need to get done and the requirements, our client ID number, and all of the things that you guys need to take into consideration. Again, if you want to auto-populate your response zones from CAD, please let me know so that I can put that ticket in for you guys. Right. Please let me know if you guys have any questions. Well, thank you,
Thank
and
you.
everyone have a great day.